Alright everybody, this is Zeffy Brody, and I'm getting ready to do another tutorial. Actually, I think I have a calling for these things because I'll lay in bed be thinking about what I'm going to do for a tutorial, and it won't leave me alone until I actually come in here and make it. And I find that it helps me to do these things really early in the morning before anybody gets getting up and going around, so I can get things accomplished while I'm doing it. And then every time I come in here, I think, man, my voice is all scratchy and I'm just waking up. So I have to apologize for the way these things usually go. This is, and I will say, an idea that hit me. Well, it's a thing. It's a builder's trick in Second Life that I don't always use, and I'm an idiot because I don't use this, and I'm not really good at it anyway. But I was explaining this to a friend of mine, so I'm going to try and show you what I mean. And everybody's going to go, oh, duh, I've known that forever, right? Some people don't, so we're going to go about this. What I was trying to do was decorate a booth for an event. And I was trying to fit all these different colored corsets in here. And I decided that individually, it was just too cluttered in here. And I've seen where people will just take a little swatch of the fabric and put it in a little radio button. And then you buy the item by clicking on the color that you want in a little button. And I'm thinking, well, that's going to be like 12 stupid little textures I got to upload, you know. No, it's not. You don't have to do it that way. You can put this all on one texture, and then when you get it in Second Life, offset your texture onto the little squares, and it will actually just count as one texture that you're uploading for the whole mess. And this is pretty cool because that's a lot of Linden dollars in the end. Now, what I did was not only that, but I made the little radio buttons. I made some of the words that I wanted to use as well. And I have them over here already made in GIMP. And this is what it looked like in the end. I mean, I could put more stuff in here. In fact, I might, because I haven't really uploaded any of these to Second Life yet for my booth. Those were all temporary textures that I used when I was doing it. So, how I came up with this, and I didn't do this mathematically. I should have put it on an actual exact grid so that these things were perfectly spaced. But what I did was just eyeball it. I wouldn't recommend that. And also, my cats sound like they're in heat. So when I go to make a tutorial, I have a problem with them. Pardon a second. Yeah, I don't know whether you can hear the cats or not. So, starting out with a transparency of some sort, I would take and make this guy here into a transparency. Oops, wrong way. And then paste sky over here into my transparency, making it about the size that I want to deal with, and then copying this. Oops, wait, I'm not awake. And then copying this a bunch of times far enough apart that they don't clash on your button. Well, that sounded bad. Well, you get the general picture on that. I'm not going to do exactly what I did on the other one because I don't have space on this. What I'm going to do, see, now that's its own layer. I'm going to merge it down. And then I will take a picture of the actual corsets. You could, at this point, and what I intended to do was like basically bucket fill each one of these with just a general color that kind of looks like my fabric. But I decided that some of these corsets were too, the darker ones were very unique, and I didn't want to screw that up. So what I did was I copied my layer, or my actual display of the fat packs into its own layer, and put that below my frames, and I stretched these guys to where they were actually covering my circles. I don't think I'm gonna need to put all of them. I don't have 5 squares on this one. I'm gonna try and make this fit. About like that. Oh, you can see the issue, but this is just for ease's sake. You could cut and put, you know, your fabric behind every single one of these individually, but I was extremely lazy in this process. I took this and go back to this layer and delete everything around it. And that's how I came out with my buttons. And if, like I said, you put these into an actual grid with mathematically correct situation going on, it helps you a lot better when you're in Second Life trying to spread these out using the offset. Now that I've gotten this far, I'll show you. We'll go back to my final. This had all my colors in the top row and bottom row, and it didn't really matter how I laid them out on here. What mattered was how I offset them in the game. And then I went down and I actually put some words down here. Actually, I could use some more words, to be honest. But I think I'm going to mess with that on my own time for the sake of trying to keep this down to a minimum. I'll show you what I mean in world. Alright. In game, in world. These are the buttons that I had laid out, and you will notice they're not perfect either. To try and use this texture on these buttons, we are selecting face, and in local, using the button transparency, and the texture that I made. You want to say okay to that. You will adjust the size of your larger texture down to where just a button will show, and then you will adjust the offset horizontally and vertically to where the button will show on each one. So then this one, and we're selecting face. I'm doing this all in local, you'll pardon me, because I wasn't ready to commit. I have already mapped these out, which is the problem for this tutorial. It's very painstakingly to try and figure out exactly what numbers to put in here. Had I mapped out my big map, my texture map, a lot more mathematically, these numbers would have made more sense. So you're going down the line, texturing each one of these and moving the offset to where just that color shows. Say you don't, this one you want to start with green, so you get that one over the hole. The next one you want to start with, the next color, and so on and so forth until you have all of them. Then you can put in your individual things you're selling into these buttons, and people can just click these things instead of having all this massive stuff. This, I also used the offset for the word separates. I had to navigate to it using the offsets. And so that is how you would go about using just one texture in Second Life to do loads of things. And you're only paying the one $10 Linden fee to upload it. But keeping in mind, it's going to be a lot of playing with these offset buttons and your size. You want to make sure that it's pretty well, especially these square buttons, you want to keep them the same ratio top and bottom, size-wise, so that it's going to look natural. Words, they're a little different. So that is how I did it. And maybe that'll help somebody. I know I ramble a lot and I don't sound all that professional. I should have probably just gone from scratch on this and shown you exactly how painstaking that is to get the numbers right in those holes. But for sake of embarrassment and the fact that I'd already had this accomplished, I thought it would show anyway that is a possibility and saves you a lot of Linden dollars if you're uploading teeny weeny little textures for everything. I've done that before. I wasn't really smart. I've made HUDs, clothing HUDs with every single little square of fabric and uploaded every one of them. I mean, that's ridiculous. I'm going to end up spending hundreds just to make the HUD on something by individually uploading buttons. And they say you're supposed to work smarter, not harder. So, there you go. My blonde moments sometimes outweigh my brain moments. Anyway, hope that helps somebody. And I'll try and get back with something else, as my brain won't let me get away from making these tutorials sometimes. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.